You could imagine a society, and may not be a bad society, where individual freedom is not the highest priority.
Well, you bring up what I see too as almost like a current that runs through largely the quote anti-vax side, which for me is this idea of body autonomy, right? And I see it a lot in the literature. This idea, my body, my choice on the signs, consent. Some people bring out the Nuremberg trial of, I guess it's like do no harm in the medical practice. And again, largely people say, oh, it's a false equivalency. That's not what's going on here. But for me, I'm curious about that. Like, what is it in this quote anti-vax side that has this real adherence to this sense of body autonomy as like the fulcrum? Because I think it speaks a little bit to what you're saying. It's almost this idea of I'm free from being co-opted by this technocratic agenda, right? There's this idea of like personal liberation from that system. And yet at the same time, sometimes I also see these shades of, well, is freedom simply the freedom to not be of consequence to other people? Like, because the quote pro side says, well, look, your freedom is infringing upon my safety, right? Of, getting the virus if you decide to be unvaccinated and mingle with us. So I'm just curious, where does that come from in your understanding, this adherence or curiosity around that? And Zamir, you want to jump in?
I just want to add to that we can't not take note that we live in a time sort of post-Me Too movement. I mean, there's this deeper sense of what you don't have to, buy into the quote unquote anti-vax narrative to now stand in the power of, well, you know what? Consent is something that we have socially accepted as something that is very, very important. It's being discussed in a wide scale, right, around the autonomy of our bodies, right? It's something that has permeated the social consciousness, right to consent. And even the way in which we're approaching abortion and the outcries that we have when women's bodies are not offered that freedom, right? I mean, this is something that I feel like it also has a deeper undercurrent.
Yeah. Okay. You could imagine a society, and may not be a bad society, where individual freedom is not the highest priority, in which it's generally accepted that your body is not your own, that it belongs to the collective, and the collective has the right to tell you what to do with your body for the good of all. To some extent, every society believes this, and enforces norms and taboos. In some societies, everybody has certain skin piercings, and does certain practices on their bodies, and it is actually a religion. Not every society has freedom of religion or even holds that as an ideal. And there's no law of the universe that says that our society has to have that. Really, what we're talking about here is freedom of religion. When you understand medical paradigms as part of the mythology, then you notice like how congruent medical procedures are with ritual practices. I mean, even like wearing a mask or injecting a potion into your body, undergoing a violation of body integrity to put some magical substance in yourself. Like these are, it's a little ordeal that you go through, and everybody does it. And that's why people are so offended by the unvaccinated. It's not because they are actually rationally afraid that they're going to be at greater risk. That is becoming more and more obvious as the evidence accumulates that the vaccines aren't working very well, that the vaccinated are like the vaccines wear off after a few months. You have to get one booster after another, like Israel is now experiencing like the highest COVID rates in the world, and they have the highest vaccination rates. I mean, there's all kinds of cracks in the facade of get the vaccine to protect everybody. It's not entirely rational. There's something else going on here. So really the question is, but see, that's in a way irrelevant. Like I could say, okay, you're not actually protecting others by getting vaccinated, but what if you were?